Hey, welcome everyone. Another day in coronavirus world. With me again, the man who wrote this book, Stress Teflon, Luke Mathers. How are you, mate?
I'm very well in Corona land.
I know it's an interesting space, changing every day, dynamic. I don't want to muck around today. I want to talk about 5 ways to reset normal, the new normal.
Yeah, it really is a new normal because you have to think about, I've been thinking about this a lot over the last few days, and you think about, say a cyclone comes through, you see it coming up on the maps and it says, big cyclone coming in 3 or 4 days to kind of get ready, and, there might be some waves coming, it'll be fun. But, it comes through. I've actually been in the middle of a cyclone and it's an amazing experience. I was in cyclone, I can't remember what her name was, but we were in Hamilton Island and we stayed up all night. The cyclone went over us. We saw stars in the middle. It was an amazing experience. But the next day there was carnage everywhere and it was crazy. But it was pretty much over and done with within 24 hours anyway, probably more within about 12 hours. Yep. And the really weird thing about it, and then, we've all seen it on the news that, cyclone ravages North Queensland, and 2 days later it's bright sunshine and they're all out there, picking up the debris, but it's bright sunshine and it's gone.
If people survive, they just need to get on with it at that time. So,
yeah.
Whereas now we don't know, do we? Get up every day, we don't know what's going to happen to us.
Yeah, exactly. So the thing about that, and when we look at how our body deals with stress, we're really good at that short-term stuff. We're really good at that. If I remember when the floods happened in Brisbane in 2012 or whatever it was. We spent a day on the business end of squeegees and brooms and cleaned up a friend's house, and you just kept going all day because adrenaline and cortisol and all those stress hormones, which are really good. We need those stress hormones, but we don't need them for 6 to 12 months.
Yeah, that's the thing here, isn't it? 6 to 12 months.
Yeah, so everything, even you think back to the bushfires seemed like that went on forever. And when you're an outsider and you watch them on the news, it did go on forever. But most of the places, the fire went through, it either got them or it missed them, and it was tragic if it got them. But it just went through, and they have to deal with what the aftermath and all that sort of stuff, which is terrible. But it's still not something that's going to go on for 6 to 12 months. They'll find whatever their new normal is. They'll have a caravan where they live or whatever if their house has been burnt down. And all of that's completely tragic, but they'll get through it and they'll see the light at the end of the tunnel. The hassle with this one is, particularly when you look at all those graphs, we've got that big hump to go over. We haven't really started ramping up the hill yet.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, so I think with all of that in mind, the fact that we're really good at short-term stress, but we're really shit at long-term stress. Remember, long-term stress turns off your immune system. It turns off your digestive system. It turns off lots and lots of stuff that all the maintenance. If you go back to the cyclone analogy we talked about before, if there's a cyclone coming, you're not going to paint the fence. All right, so your body doesn't do a lot of those repair things and stuff that it would normally do in normal times because you're marinating in stress hormones. All right, so we've got to work out a way to sort of do that. And I think probably if we talk about 5 things that can sort of reset a new normal, I reckon the first one is to just accept right off the bat that this is a marathon.
It is a marathon too. It's not going to go away in a couple of weeks.
No, and it's it is what it is, and there's not much we can do about it, and it's going to take a long time, and we've got to just deal with the best of it. But the moment we can kind of say, okay, this is what I've got to deal with, this is my new normal, that does sort of change everything around a little bit.
I know we're going to talk about 5 things to reset your normal. Mm-hmm. So if you're on number 1, I'm going to ask you for some examples of how to work on just number 1 alone, if we can.
Okay.
Set this for the long haul. What do I do, mate? Do I journal that? Do I look in the mirror and say to myself, this is going to be long haul? Do I talk about it? What am I doing here? Like, it's really easy to say, accept this, we're in this for the long haul. But, for those people that just hate or can't believe or always got a conspiracy theory or have been told they can't go to the beach anymore, have been told they can't ride their bike like what's in New Zealand right now,
mm-hmm.
How do we accept this is a long haul? What do we do? Do you do it several times a day? Do you get up once and do it? How do we do this?
I think one of the things that in a new book, Reset, one of the things we talked about is Control, Alt, Delete.
Yep.
And Control, Alt, Delete are 3 fantastic questions to ask yourself. When we talk about old brains and new brains and stuff and connecting the thinking part with the feeling part of your brain, there's something about Control Alt Delete. What do I have control over?
Yep.
What things do I need to change, and what must I get rid of?
Okay.
Right. So if we Control Alt Delete all of these, we're in for the long haul. Well, I can't control that. There's nothing I can do about that. All I've got to do is work out, okay, well, I can't ride my bike. I've got to, get a Wahoo or something like that so I can ride it in the lounge room. I can't go to the gym. All right, I'm going to get a suitcase and fill it full of bricks, and I'm going to do squats with that. You control the things you can. You change the other things that you can that will allow you to do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
And you delete. And probably the biggest one we got to delete is the poor me, because there's no poor me in this. We're all in this together.
Yeah, but there is poor me in it, mate. There's a lot of people out there suffering poor me right now, and it's easy for us to say, except we're in this for the long haul. But what is the poor me person? How do we help the poor me person that's going, oh, poor me, I'm this, I'm that, I'm unloved, I'm whatever.
Yeah.
What are we doing for these people to get this accept? And I'm just talking about accepting the long haul here, okay? I know you're the other four, but I'm looking for ways to, and I'm sorry I'm pushing you on this.
No, push away. Go for it.
I should have called you before I did this. And I wouldn't have anyway. Like, what do we do to stop and have that pop moment to go, this is long haul, you're thinking short term? Because one of the things I do personally is, and to rank my stress, I always go, will I care about this in 7 days or 14 days? Like, that's something that I often say to myself. Well, the answer is yes. I am going to care about this in 7 or 14 days. Yeah. My current theory doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
Accepting this as long haul, I get that personally. And we've got staff here and suppliers and chain and a whole lot of athletes and all. There's a lot of people we're talking to at the moment. And the anxiety levels you can see are up because everyone's feeling pushed and stressed because they don't know. We all accept that this is long haul, but we're hoping, gee, will there still be a job? Will people still be buying this? Will we still be working in an environment?
There's a lot of uncertainty there, isn't there?
Yeah, like, what do we do? Like, what things can we do to help us accept we're in this for the long haul? What are you doing to accept you're in this? Have you journaled it? Have you?
Yeah, I do. I write a lot of stuff down, and I meditate a lot when I go into an old brain shitstorm. We talked about that before. When your old brain shitstorm is when you start thinking, oh shit, this is bad. What if this happens? And then you go, oh no, if that happens, this is going to happen, and it's going to cause a cascade of things, and you end up catastrophizing whatever it is, and you just end up in this. Your guts are tied up in knots. Everything's all tense. Your teeth are chattering together, and every muscle in your body's tensing up, and you're in an old brain shitstorm. And when that happens, you've got so much stress hormones going on in your body that you actually don't think straight. One of the things about stress is that it makes you defensive,
yes,
right? And it makes you dumb. The frontal cortex, the front part of your brain, which is there to do all your reasoning, all of your predicting of what's going to go on in the future, and all your sort of really thought through decision making, not your snap decisions, they're all old brain stuff. Yep. Your thought through decisions are made by your new brain, but your new brain comes offline when you're really, really stressed. And so
how far into this, accepting we're in this for the long haul, is that happening? Is it happening every time I go, we're in this for a long time?
I think everyone's a little bit different with that. And I put a thing up in my blog that I send out every week from the Stress Teflon website that, and I put a thing up comparing this to 1940s, from 1940s London. Yep. All right. And I thought about that and thought, they were getting bombed and all of this sort of stuff. And I made the comparison, and sort of when you make that comparison, it's like, we're having to go home and watch Netflix. And I was feeling pretty good about myself, thinking that was a really good comparison. That's going to help a lot of people. And one of my sisters, my older sister, who's actually quite a bit smarter than me, not that that's hard, but she's a lot smarter than me. And she actually sent me a thing that, I don't think comparing it to that is really helping, because there's no finite amount of empathy in the world. There's no finite amount of, you might think it's a storm in a teacup, but it's still that person's teacup. And it's still, it's still very, very real to them. And I think at some stage we've got to sort of hack into our physiology a little bit and do the breathing, do the meditation. I call it mind awareness, do the mind awareness where you sort of lie down and concentrate on your breathing. And the hassle is that when you start ruminating, and ruminating is a really cool word. It actually comes from rumen, the different stomachs in cows. Right, so that's what a rumen is. The different
lobsters last week, cows this week.
Lobsters and cow guts. But when you start ruminating, it's basically you're rolling over the same thought in your head.
Yeah.
Right. And it's a bit like going down a mountain skiing and staying in exactly the same tracks the whole way down.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, you end up thinking the same thing. And what that does, it rewires your brain in such a way that pathway of the way you think is the way you then go and think more and more and more. And then that becomes almost the only way you can think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And something like lying down and doing meditation or mind awareness is kind of like the best analogy I've heard with this. It's kind of like getting a fresh dump of snow.
Okay.
You lie down, you concentrate on your breathing, you stimulate your parasympathetic nervous system, which is the thing that the rest and digest part of your body that calms everything down. And it's a bit like having a fresh dump of snow onto the mountain. All of those tracks that you went through before are all covered up, and you can then pick the direction you want to go down. But if we don't do that and we stay ruminating, basically what we're doing is we're throwing grass through a whole bunch of cow stomachs and we're just making bullshit.
Okay.
So it's just not helping.
Yeah.
All right. So at some stage we've got to say, yeah, this is bad. It's a shit fight, and I'm not happy with that. But we're all in it together. And you know, I don't want to appear as if I'm cold or anything, and I don't have enough empathy. But you know, we have to get on with it. We don't have a choice. It's something we can't control how long this is going to be. So
the alternative of not doing that is a long, painful.
Yeah. And both the mental health effects of that and the physical health effects of that are massive. You get things like irritable bowel syndrome and stuff like that. All of those people are people that aren't very good at handling stress. They have a lot of stress in their world. And that's, things like their digestive system shuts down.
Yep.
And it makes it really hard. And I guess that accepting the long haul actually wanders back into what I've got here as the second one in the 5 things of resetting, and that's to deliberately make your new habits. All right,
so
because
we're talking things there like we've got to wash our hands all the time, so don't stress about that. Just get on and do it. Yeah,
that one's a really easy one, because you can go from being a paranoid germaphobe, and every time I wash my hands, I'm remembering about coronavirus and it's terrible and it's awful and all of that sort of stuff. Or you can just say, fuck it, I got to wash my hands, and set up systems like when you walk in, I walk in the door, I wash my hands.
Yeah.
I leave a shop, I wash my hands. Almost all shops are having that stuff on their counter, and they don't care if you have a squirt and use it. So those little things, and they're not, that's just, it almost creates a new normal when you turn into a habit. Because remember, habits are there because our brain wants to take the path of least resistance.
Yeah.
Our brain doesn't want to use lots of energy and have to think about everything. So it creates little pathways in our brain and that's where habits come from. And so if you just have the habit of washing your hands, then that's not a stressful thing. It's nothing. It's just what it is.
That's what you got to do. Yeah.
Yeah. And the habits one, we can probably do another full-on live one about just on that. But also people who are working from home and stuff, they've got to start to put some structure in there. I've got structure in most of my day now, and it's getting 10 times more done than what I did a month ago, just because I'm saying at this time I'm doing this and doing it. So you've got to put those cues in place to say at 9, even things like when you go to work, you'd have a shower, you'd brush your teeth, and you'd go to work. All right. Maybe you had a shower the night before, and little things, you don't have the cues that I do this after I do that. And so, you might, the other day, it was like 10 o'clock. I'm like, my teeth feel like Gandhi's flip-flop. I'm going to have to go brush my teeth. I'd forgotten, because you didn't have the same habits going on. So, almost having to plant the little cues that get you started on whatever the habit is that you need to do.
I didn't know you were living by yourself at the moment. That's a shame.
She wishes. But so I think that's the third one, the second one, because if we don't deliberately make our habits, then our habits are just going to evolve, and evolution's a tinkerer. It's just gonna turn into whatever it turns into. And if we don't try and at least make an attempt to make that deliberate, we're going to end up with habits that we're going to have a lot of stress trying to get rid of later.
So if we're getting up in the morning and we're not accepting, going, gee, another day to corona, and then we're getting up, not brushing our teeth and staying in our pajamas all morning, you should probably stop and have a look at yourself and go, well, I need to make this a new habit. Yeah,
this is exactly who you want to be. And one the 3 things that we sort of talk about in the new book is that you have your environment, and then you have your systems, and then on top of that, you create whatever your identity is. All right. And all of the systems have gone out the window because we're not doing the same things we were doing a few months ago.
Okay.
And that does make it hard. So we've got to set up our environment. So, and Harriet brought this up the other day, so that the things that are good for you are easy to do. The things that are bad for you are hard to do.
Yeah, that's actually a good live she did the other day.
Yeah, it was a really good one. If anyone gets a chance to watch that, Harriet did a great one on that. And just that one sentence, make the beneficial things easy to do and make the not so beneficial things hard. If you can set your environment up to do that, it's really good. And your systems are the same. If you can set your systems up to do that. And then you become the type of person that gets up in the morning and I exercise straight away.
Exactly.
That's part of your identity.
In the morning, do a training session here, or say I'll do some yoga. There's things you can do to create these habits that stop you worrying about that long haul.
Yeah, I actually missed most of that. It came out of my ears, but I'm sure it was riveting, GY.
Well, that's exactly, it wasn't that good. Don't worry about
it. So we'll do the third one?
Yeah, let's go. What's the third? What's the three big thing we should do?
These are all particularly random and they're only mine too, so feel free to add to them and change them and do whatever you like. But my third one is to reset your expectations.
Okay, what does that mean?
Well, you have to think about it. At the start of the year, you might have been, I want to sell 3 million things a shred, and I want a green tea to be on in every office around the country, and all of these different things that you might have had your plans of what you wanted your business to be, or what you wanted to job you be, or I wanted to have had the deposit for a house by June. You know what I mean? They were all expectations.
Holidays. I want to go on a holiday. A lot of people are going on holidays. Yeah.
A lot of people. I've got friends that were meant to be getting married in a couple of months and they can't go and get married. And Easter. It's all of those things. And we all had expectations that we're going to do these really cool things.
Yeah.
But they've all gone out the window. All right. And by resetting our expectations, there's a really cool quote. I couldn't tell you exactly who it's from. But it's happiness equals reality minus expectations. You know what I mean? So if it's, my little bipolar Bob dude, the little smiley face or the sad face, you have a choice. And, some of these things suck. They really suck. If I was getting married, like my friend Amy, who's was going to get married in a couple of months, it's tragic for her. It's so sad. But they'll have a wedding whenever they have a wedding. It's still going to be great. And, it sucks, but, there's not much. There's control alt delete. There's not much we can do about it.
Yeah, exactly. It's a tough one.
Hey,
what's your big number 4?
Number 4 is actually one of the 3 parts of Stress Teflon, and it's connecting to your tribe. All right. You and I have talked about this a lot. I'm a massive, this is ironic that I'm saying this while doing a Facebook Live, but I'm not the greatest social media fan in the world. I think social media, I don't know, it's almost like a renaissance of social media. The thing that I thought was toxic and terrible and ruining the lives of young people and all of that sort of stuff is now awesome, because we actually can connect with people and we can do all of these things, and we can still, even though we have to social distance and we can only have 2 people in a room together and all of that sort of stuff. Social media and Zoom and house party or whatever some of these other things are, have really made it possible to keep connecting with your tribe.
Yeah.
And we have to do that. I can't wait. The little things that you're going to be happy about, I can't wait till ScoMo gets on and says, okay, you can have, up to 5 or up to 10 now. And that way you can have a few more people rather than just 2, because 2 basically is,
It's a tough gig, mate. There's a lot of people. I mean, you see a lot of people right now, but I think the government's going to jump down a fair bit on what everyone's doing. It's just getting heavier and heavier.
Yeah.
Shut down parts of the Gold Coast for surfing. And
I watched Tom Tate today on the...
and obviously this is going national, but, look what's happening in Sydney and Melbourne. And you look at New Zealand right now, you're not allowed outside. You can't go for a run. You can't ride your bike.
Really?
Getting real, yeah. It's so people...
Their curve's probably flatter than anyone's, isn't it?
Mate, I'm no expert.
Yeah, me neither.
Me neither. I just... As long as we're doing the right thing and the majority of us doing the right thing, we'll come out the other end.
I definitely have talked to people that I probably wouldn't have talked to.
I speak to a lot more people. It's funny when you get a message now, it's like, hope everyone's okay, stay healthy, stay safe. Yeah. And these conversations that you normally wouldn't have are everywhere at the moment. It's people I traditionally have long conversations with, I'm engaged. It's actually interesting how it's all going.
There's a
getting back to where it's all at.
Yeah, it's like almost like a collateral benefit. You wouldn't think much good's going to come out of this, but some of those things actually are a benefit. I think we are. I go around and see my mum and dad a little bit more often than I would normally. Do the social, they're late 70s, early 80s, and then so you got a social distance and all of that sort of stuff. But go for a walk with my dad and have a chat and all that sort of stuff. And when you've got heaps of time and that sort of stuff, you make the time for those things, because that connecting to your tribe and kind of noticing it. And that comes into the sort of fifth one of this is to notice the good things that you do. Where the people next door came back from Japan a couple of weeks ago, and so they couldn't go and do their shopping and stuff like that. And my wife Karen went and did the shopping for them, and there was a couple of things they didn't get, so she got it again a couple of days later. And just to sort of almost give yourself a pat on the back for connecting with your tribe and doing nice things and stuff like that.
Great story.
There is a really nice sort of, there's a chemical that gets released when you do something that's really nice for your tribe called serotonin. And serotonin is like a happiness hormone. It's the thing that gives you your pride from inside. And there's something about noticing the really nice things. Walk outside and see how beautiful a day it is and notice that sort of stuff. Because the hassle is if you don't and you walk around kicking stones in a big grey cloud because you're pissed off about whatever you're pissed off, justifiably, because it's shit. Right?
So, there's a lot of bad things happening.
Plenty of empathy in there and all of that sort of stuff. But if you only wallow in that and don't see any of the beauty that's around, then you're just going to dig yourself into a deeper hole.
Yeah, exactly.
So just noticing that joy, noticing yourself doing things nice. And it's amazing, those random acts of kindness. The more random acts of kindness are cumulative. They help you and they help whoever you do the kindness for. And that's a really, really cool thing to do. If there's something that these people that are going around and buying 20 pizzas and just taking them to the hospital,
that's awesome.
That's amazing. It's amazing. And sort of try and find as many things like that you can do that are within your sort of abilities, and catch yourself doing the good things, because we need those little serotonin hits. Without that, we do run risks of depression and stuff like that. Not connecting to your tribe is also another way that you can sink into a deep hole, and we don't want to be doing that. And if you do, people like Beyond Blue and Black Dog Institute and all that sort of thing, Lifeline, those people are fantastic at helping you. If you do feel like it's getting on top of you.
Yeah, exactly. That's good advice there, mate. Well, that's your big five. Not bad.
Yeah, I'd love people to pop some things in the comments, because I'm sure there's probably, we could throw another 5 in there really, really easily. And
how do you celebrate the good things that happen around you? What do you do?
Notice it. I give yourself a little celebration. If you want to reinforce something, if say your dog comes and you throw the ball and the dog gets it and brings it back, you give him a pat and say, "Oh, good girl, that was awesome." The dog's more likely to want to do that. And we're like that too. Whatever we celebrate, we're more likely. There's positive reinforcements and negative reinforcements. If something hurts, you won't do it. If something feels good, you'll do it again.
Yeah.
And so and the hassle is when you are walking around kicking stones the whole time, you don't notice the good things. And you just got to, when you see them, just like, "Oh, that looks beautiful." And just take notice of that sort of stuff. And when you do that, you're more likely to notice it again. And then you get the cumulative effect of, this is terrible and there's bad stuff going on, but there's still some beauty in here. We are going to come out of the other end. Don't know when, but we are going to come out the other end, and it's going to be okay.
And in all honesty, this is one of the things we can control too. We can enjoy the good moments, can't we?
Yeah, exactly. But you sometimes got to look for them a little bit harder than you do at others. When everything's rosy and everything's great and you're surrounded by the people you love and everything's coming up, Greg, then you're all good. When it's when things are turning to poo and you're worried whether you're going to have your job or not and all of this sort of stuff, these are very real emotions, and they're very real things that people have most completely justified about. One of the real cool things I heard is to during the week is to label your emotion, or label what you're feeling. All right. And things like my old brain shitstorm. I think an old brain shitstorm is the best phrase I've heard forever. When you know that your emotional part of your brain is running rampant and you're not thinking straight, the moment you say, I'm in an old brain shitstorm, all of a sudden it's like, okay, let's have a few breaths. I've noticed it. We can calm the farm a little bit and see if we can work our way through it.
Teeth shut, tongue against the top of the mouth. You can tell.
Yeah.
You know when you're in it. the gut,
exactly. Things are tensing.
all those things kick in.
Yeah.
So, mate, how do we make better decisions at this time? Like, obviously, you've talked about 5 things to do to reset. So, let's talk about making better decisions.
Well, I guess one of the things about decisions is that quite often we make them when we don't know we've made them. Right? There's a lot of decisions that you make. You get halfway down the road, and then you rationalize how you got down the road, and then you sort of go backwards and re-engineer the decision you made, and you actually didn't make a decision at all. You just did it. You just did it without thinking, and you just went through the motions. And I think one of the things is when it is something to be conscious that you're making that decision, take a couple of seconds and, connect both parts of your brain. And, remember that your old brain, that part that has all the emotion and the fear and all of that sort of stuff, that old brain, it gets the first crack at whatever you want to do. All right. I call it the shitty first crack. So, that's a terrible line. But it does the shitty first draft at what your reaction should be. All right. That shitty first draft isn't the only option. You've got other options, but stop, take a few deep breaths, Control Alt Delete it. Control Alt Delete is fantastic. It's a really cool 3 questions. The other one that I put in the stress Teflon was, what am I thinking? And if you go, what am I thinking? It's wait. So just wait for a second, have a think about it, and then work out which way you're going to go, rather than just rushing into whatever you're doing out of reflex and then rationalizing how you got there, which probably doesn't do quite as good a deal.
Perfect. Mate, while we're here, it's, the world's got to go on. I can't reset certain things and I can't get too upset about some things. So one of the things we've done is we've just launched this product today.
I've been using that.
But we had to go testing, do all the things. You get a little one before.
Yeah.
And, I could have thrown the dummy out of the pram, going, oh, this sucks. We're launching a stress product. But I looked at it and said, you know what?
This is Merry Christmas.
I don't think people have ever been more stressed. So we couldn't afford an influencer. So they got me. So, but mate, this is a product. I love this product, and when you read what it's talking about, calms the mind, soothes the nerves, and human studies, everything that's done around that. You've been using it for quite a while because you've given you some ingredients and stuff to play with. But probably the big thing that I love with this product is it decreases for me the symptoms of stress. I've got a fairly stressful environment at the moment. Everyone's edgy. We never know if the supermarkets are going to order or not order. And if they do order, it's a massive difference to not ordering. They have forecasts in place and things fall into place, and websites and people, and we've got reps that want to go on the road that we don't want to go on the road, and we've got people who are getting sick and not sick. There's a lot of shit happening in my day and Body Sciences Day and everyone here at work. But so for me, I just get up every morning, have 2 of these, and I just feel a much calmer, smoother day. So I'm not going to throw you under the bus on what you think.
No, from some of the research that you sent me on that stuff, it's when we talk about how stress is meant to work. Cortisol is an awesome chemical to have in your body. If you don't have cortisol, your body doesn't work. So don't make the mistake of the sort of some is good, more is better, or the other way around, or some is bad, everything's bad. But you need cortisol to fire you up. You need it to do stuff. You need it to get excited, but you don't want to be marinating it the whole time. And that's what this stuff does. It lets the cortisol spike for when it's beneficial, but it helps pull it straight back down to where your baseline should be.
Yeah, and we're talking like in less than an hour. If anybody wants to read up on it, just type Blueness, BLUENESSE, into Google. There's 1,000 articles on Blueness. It's the main ingredient in this product. There's a few other products in there around antioxidants and high ORAC value products, etc. like that, because we were looking at a systematic wellness approach here. But when you look at this product here, mild anxiety, that's what it's aimed at. I'd love to say you can get it from retailers or in Australia, but you can't.
Right.
So basically,
website?
Jump on the Body Science website if you want to grab it. We are going to talk to some retailers and see if they're interested, but they've got their own problems at the moment with leases and all the things that are happening and stuff. So there's not a lot of pressure there.
It is good stuff though. It's really good. I sometimes my brain goes a little bit overboard at night time, and I never have any trouble getting to sleep because I run around like an idiot all day and I'm always exhausted. But every now and then I wake up early in the morning and I take 2 of those, and it gets me through to when I'm allowed to get up, because I'm not allowed to get up too early. I get in trouble with my wife. But then also during the day, I've actually used it playing golf. believe it or not. And because golf, you can sometimes, you have 3 or 4 bad shots in a row and you start kicking stones. And there's something about that just makes you go, no, I'm good. There's a little bit of zen in there. And it just keeps your sort of 2 brains together and keeps all that working. So I actually really love the stuff. It's really good.
Beautiful. So jump on the Body Science website, calm, stress support. If you want to get on Google and look up blueness, I think there's a little write-up on the website what blueness is, but it is the key ingredient in there. There's some other good ingredients in there that are all around calming the body, but we're not here to pump too much product. That's not my style.
Got to pay the bills, Greg.
Do that type of thing, but get on board. Calm, stress support. Not in store now.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's been emotional, mate.
Yes, mate. Well, what are we going to talk about tomorrow?
I was actually going to talk about the redemption of social media.
Ooh, interesting.
Do you want to do that?
Why not?
We can do that because there's so many things that are bad that, again, that sort of, the little 2 ways of looking at stuff. There's always 2 ways of looking at stuff, and social media is one of those. And we've probably, you know a lot more about it than I do, but I've had to sort of rethink and say, okay, well, if I can't be in contact with people another way, let's have a look at social media differently.
Nice. I'm just going to do one more blatant product pump.
Awesome.
I love the stuff.
All right.
Thanks, mate.
See you tomorrow. Bye.